Welcome to another episode of the Coaster101 podcast. I'm Eric Woolley, Coaster101's writer out in California. Today I am joined by Shane Joseph over in New England.
Hey, everyone.
And Andrew Stillwell down in North Carolina.
Hey, Eric. Hey, Shane. How you guys doing?
Good. Doing well, all things considered. That's actually already a good segue into our topic for today, Andrew. We're going to be topical. We're going to sort of talk about park closures and reopening and coronavirus and sort of this broad thing going on in the theme park world. I think parks basically have been closed since about mid-March. I think that's sort of when everything sort of started getting shut down. Andrew, I know you mentioned your signal that things were changing was when the NBA canceled.
Yeah, I mean that's what it was. I mean, I remember even as mid to late February, we were planning our Coaster101 meetup this year. We were going to be down in Texas and hit pretty much every park in the state of Texas, I feel like, with a roller coaster. And that didn't happen. So typically we'd be at the point right now where we would have gone to at least one or two parks, and I know, some parks are opening, but right now I've yet to ride any of the new for 2020 roller coasters, and the one new roller coaster I've ridden this year was a wacky worm down in Florida. So I need to get back to parks.
I take the stance that doesn't actually count. So.
Fair.
That was, I think that we'd all been planning that Texas trip. I'd sort of been tentatively trying to plan a Disneyland trip for this spring because I'd gotten a Flex Pass last summer and wanted to get some more uses out of it. I was strongly debating, wanting to make sure I fell into a window where Haunted Mansion had reopened and Indiana Jones had not closed because they were both going through refurbishments. Turns out that was all for naught. So I guess we can but parks, so right now I think the biggest topic news is actually that parks have started reopening.
Finally.
Yeah, so Andrew, Shane, what are some thoughts on the parks that have reopened or ones that are opening soon?
I've seen some, obviously a lot of the parks in various states are opening. It's really depending on the state government, but, parks like Universal Orlando is a big one. The Fun Spot parks down in Orlando. Six Flags over Georgia recently opened. Dollywood had their season pass holder preview today. Frontier Cities opened, so they're starting to pop up. Shane, what have you seen anything else that I'm forgetting?
The SeaWorld and Busch Gardens, also in Florida, opened up last week. Slowly parks are starting to reopen. I was a little surprised when Universal was one of the first. I thought that for a big resort park, they would surely kind of sit and wait and see, kind of like Disney's doing, and see how the other parks are handling it. But it looks like Universal has actually been faring pretty well, so I think it's worked out for them.
I've been impressed with them because Universal, I think, has gone to an entire virtual queue system for everything, right? I was sort of surprised that I haven't read any problems about that not working, which is they were actually able to roll this out to every ride and it seems to be functional.
Yes.
Was impressive to me that they could do that.
It's definitely impressive, but there's some things, like I was talking to somebody who visited Universal, and they were saying that the ride reservations are sort of like what Rise of the Resistance was doing, where for Hagrid's, the Hagrid coaster that just opened is one of the more popular rides there at the moment. So they run out in minutes. So if you're not there right at the opening, you're probably not going to get on it for the day. So that is kind of the only thing that's a little bit inconvenient. But considering how big the resort is and how many guests they have, it's still pretty impressive that they were able to get that done.
I think we could probably record a different podcast arguing about whether we prefer the virtual queue for the ride that sells out in minute 3 versus a 10-hour line.
Yes, yeah.
And brainstorm other options that might work.
So I saw actually they opened those the virtual queues kind of throughout the day. It's kind of a rolling system. Yeah. So, if you're not in the park by 8 o'clock and 8 seconds, you still have a shot later in the day to get on Hagrid. So that's always a good thing. And I know that early, when at least the first few days they were open, I don't know if it's gotten busier, but it looked like there were lots of rides that
by the middle of the afternoon, there were tons of rides that had lots of availability. It made me tempted to think, oh, should I buy a plane ticket to Florida? Is that if Universal's actually empty, this might be a good time to go.
It's giving new meaning to the phrase social distancing.
Yeah. And actually, I think this is the one time that you'll actually be able to go to the parks and have it look like the concept art with the amount of people.
But I've seen that's kind of like that's a double-edged sword a little bit. People are talking about, certain things aren't the way they're supposed to be. Obviously, you have to be socially distanced with the characters. Some effects and certain rides are turned off. So I've seen, kind of the scuttlebutt above the whole thing being like, if this is your first trip, you should hold off. If you're a seasoned theme park veteran, you're willing to kind of take the risk, it's a great time to go just because, you can do so much and the park is virtually empty.
Yeah, that's my feeling too, because we had, I was scheduled to go to Disneyland in March before it closed, so I still have the tickets for that. So I'm talking with some of my friends who I was going to go with, and we're kind of debating, but we've never been there before, so we want to go as late as possible to have the best experience. So there is kind of that trade-off of, well, you can go when it's empty, but it's not going to be the same experience you get otherwise. And I also think that it's a little different with something, like a Frontier City or a SeaWorld versus a big, Disney or Universal.
Yeah. I do I guess there's part of it that I could actually see it maybe being easier if you're not a theme park expert going now. Because, I know the first time that I went to Disney World, very overwhelming the amount of planning that needs to go into that, and what the hell, what buses do I have to go to get onto this? How do I get from this park to this park? What do you mean they're 10 miles away? And a little emptier might be a little calmer pace for some people going. I could see that maybe being easier, but missing out on things like parades and shows, certainly at parks like that, are that's a big part of it. So you
Eric,
miss that.
You're just mad that they don't have paper fast passes out east anymore.
I'm opposed to the paper fast pass. The first time I went, being horrified at the fact that I couldn't just walk across a plaza to the other parks, was very irritating to me. So speaking of Disneyland, though, there are parks that are open and some that have announced their openings. Disneyland's they proposed their opening for actually the anniversary of the original opening of Disneyland, July 17th, I think.
17th. Yeah.
And there are a few other parks that have sort of proposed later openings. Are there any that have stood out to you as surprised that they're waiting this long, or things that feels like they're opening sooner than they should be? Which we could get into a lot of that too.
We definitely could. Obviously, the Cedar Fair parks, they've announced openings. I think the first, Schlitterbahn opened last week to pass holders, and their first amusement park is Worlds of Fun. But you've also got Kings Island, you've got Cedar Point. So I know Hershey is opening the first week of July. Kennywood is not soon thereafter. So again, it's kind of that states, where where they're able to kind of combat the virus a little bit better. I say this as someone who lives in a state right now that is an emerging COVID hot zone. So I don't believe my home park will be opening anytime soon. I don't want to speak for the park, and I hope that's not the case, but I'm okay with them waiting.
Yeah, I was at I think Disney is maybe the first of the California parks that actually announced it, and the California is not, at least statewide, not in the phase that the governor has laid out where parks can open, but it's expected that will be the case in July. Things will be able to open, so I guess Disney's trying to get a jump on it. I know there were SeaWorld San Diego and Magic Mountain, I think, have sort of floated ideas, but I don't think certainly none of them have actually been approved yet. So I'm still kind of holding out hope as to when some of my local ones in Northern California will open. Although then debate internally whether I would actually want to go to one when they first open.
Right. But you guys, with the parks that are open right now, what are some things that you've seen, on social media? I know none of the three of us have been to the parks. I know John, our site owner, founder, whatever we want to call him. He was at the Dollywood season pass preview today, and I know he saw he was taking a lot of pictures. There's a lot of good stuff on social media he was posting. One thing I saw that was pretty interesting is they're not requiring you to wear a mask on the roller coasters. You can if you want to, but if you choose not to, you have to hold it. You can't leave it in a bin. But what are some things you guys are seeing at other parks, good or bad?
Well, I think I've seen a little bit of both across social media and talking to some of the people that have been to the parks. The good Universal started out a little shaky when City Walk opened. In the first few days of the parks, there were some people having trouble with not wearing the masks and the employees, not doing anything about it. But now that's definitely turned around, and everything I've heard within like the past week has all been good at a Universal. SeaWorld and Busch Gardens, though, I have heard multiple people saying that they are not enforcing anything, which seems to be the main problem. Is even if you go and look at videos from the past week of Busch Gardens and SeaWorld, you'll see that probably about half of people aren't wearing the masks at all or properly on the walkways. So it's one thing when they're allowed space to be distant, which is good, but it's also the problem of the cast members not enforcing it where it matters. So it's been a little bit of both, I think, at the parks.
I've like the rest of theme park internet, I saw the pictures out in Utah, and I know I didn't catch the exact policy change that Lagoon made, but Lagoon has updated their mask policy. I did see there was Arnold's Park in Iowa. It's a really kind of a small park. They opened for the season kind of post-COVID on June 3rd, and because of a spike in cases in that area, they've already closed again. So they closed this past weekend on the 13th. We're recording this obviously a little before it airs, but yeah, they were open for 10 days and then they closed. So, good on them for being safe and making the right decision, but that's definitely not what you want to see.
Yeah, I think that's sort of certainly. I tried in the post that we put up about Disneyland's announced reopening, I tried to put lots of sort of caveats in there of Disneyland is proposing this. This could change a lot. Certainly, I think for any of these parks that have July opening dates now scheduled, if there's a big spike in cases, which has sort of been happening. We've seen lots of states where new case numbers are going up. I could see lots of them putting them off further or doing it. I think certainly opening and closing is the worst thing, probably both from a PR point of view of suddenly hey, wait, was this actually safe? Is it safe for any of these to be open? But also, I would think for the parks, just financially, that's harder. If you figure they've trained staff now, they've done maintenance to get everything working in the last place, and now they have to shut it down again. If they have to furlough staff and then train new staff again 2 months later, that was a bunch of effort that has now sort of gone to waste, which you could imagine some of these parks, if they reopen and then have to close, that might mean they're closed for the year kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why Disney is waiting so long, because the worst thing for them, especially from a PR standpoint, like you were saying, is for them to open and then close a couple weeks later, because I think that would shake a lot of people and influence their decision whether to go. So I'll be curious to see if some of these other Orlando parks do end up reclosing, and if Disney will adjust their opening date at all if that happens.
Well, let's not talk the doomsday scenarios. There are some parks getting ready to reopen, and one of the park reopening soon was Worlds of Fun, and they actually opened to season pass holders today, June 22nd. We are joined right now by Chris Foshee, who is the communications manager for Worlds of Fun. Chris, how you doing?
I am doing great. It feels so good to, be at the park. It's opening. It's exciting. Everything is right in the world. It feels like summer. It's just a lot of feels. It's awesome.
That's good. You've had a we'll call it a delay for the season. It's been an interesting few months for sure, but what does it mean to you to have Worlds of Fun be the first amusement park. I know Schlitterbahn opened pretty recently, but the first amusement park in the Cedar Fair family to reopen.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. It's I don't know, it's kind of just a sign of things kind of starting to get back to normal, at least, allowing people into the parks to have fun in a safe manner. And, it's been exciting just to do all of this as a communications professional. It's definitely, been a little challenging just because there's a lot of information to work through. But, it's been really rewarding kind of, to see the feedback from our fans as they're getting excited as we reopen, and, just helping them, get the information they need to navigate their visit to the park. So, it's been a lot of fun.
Gotcha. Well, obviously, a position like we're in, we get a lot of press releases, and a lot of these reopening press releases, they say the same thing in different ways. They've got the social distancing, they're adding hand sanitizing stations. Why don't you want to talk about a couple of the things Worlds of Fun is doing as it relates to social distancing and safety measures?
Sure. I mean, you'll see a lot of the same things that you'll see at some of the other, big parks like Universal and Disney. All of our health and safety protocols align with CDC recommendations. They've been shaped by information from industry and health and safety experts, along with our local government officials. So we presented a plan to the city of Kansas City to reopen. Some of the things that we're implementing, reservations are required to limit capacity. That's to ensure social distancing. We have touchless thermo temperature screenings prior to entering the facility. Masks will be required. We'll have social distancing markers throughout the park, including the queue lines, and in the rides as well. Contactless shopping and ticketing, enhanced cleaning procedures throughout the park, hand sanitation stations, just a lot of, best practices to make sure that we are providing a safe and clean environment for not only our guests, but our ambassadors and, all the families that our guests and ambassadors go home to.
Gotcha. One of the things that I know Cedar Fair is doing, and you and I were talking offline a little bit, they're relying heavily on their app, and they've invested a lot in the infrastructure of the app. And, we've got an article on Coaster101.com kind of talking about how Cedar Fair went into the app. But can you talk about the reliance on the app and kind of why one member of the party is required to have the app?
It's a great tool, and you can do so much from it. It just makes everything is in one location. Everyone has their phone with them anyway. Everything you need for your visit is in one convenient location. So anything from making your reservation, adding your season passes and your tickets to the app. So it's all contactless. They scan it right from your mobile app, as well as navigating into the park to see what attractions are open, ride wait times, that sort of thing. Some of our other sister parks will have mobile food ordering capabilities. Mm-hmm. And, it's just a great way. I mean, you've got the park map right there. Everything you need is in one convenient location. On our end, it also helps us it helps us track our guests and, make sure that, their reservations are met when they're in, kind of where they're going. And we can actually kind of see, if there is a large group, maybe in one specific area, we can go in and kind of, help spread them out, just to kind of help us, promote safe social distancing and,
mm-hmm.
Make sure that we're paying proper attention to all the details within the park.
Right. So, not to use a 1984 reference, Big Brother is watching, but they're doing it for your safety.
And I wouldn't even say we're really watching, it's more of just, we have the capabilities there in case we need it. I don't foresee us being able to, or I don't foresee us really having to use much of that. I mean, we're not looking at your data or anything like that. It's mainly just, it's there if we need it.
Gotcha. You mentioned masks were required. Are you guys going to have Worlds of Fun mask designs available in the park?
We will not have Worlds of Fun branded masks, but we do have, some fun designs throughout our shopping locations.
Perfect. How is the reservation? I know reservations went live last week. How has the reservation demand been so far? I know, are people excited to get back to the park?
They are. I mean, the response has been good. I mean, there's still some spots open throughout the week. Weekdays seem like a great time to visit, and limited capacity means shorter lines for everyone. So I mean, really a great opportunity for people to get into the park and ride a lot of rides. I mean, you will get a lot out of your visit for sure.
How are you guys? I know some parks are doing the every other row on the roller coaster. You can sit with your party. How's Worlds of Fun kind of are doing that? Is it kind of that same thing where it's a
Yep.
seat in every row?
Yep, every other seat.
Perfect. And the last question I've got, obviously, you guys have a record-breaking water slide that is getting ready to open in the park right now. What's the status on Riptide Raceway? I know you don't have a opening date yet for Oceans of Fun, but what's the construction status update on that?
Yeah, we have not made an official announcement on Oceans of Fun right now. We are focusing on Worlds of Fun, trying to get it open, but we do have a new world record breaking water attraction opening in Oceans of Fun. It is the world's longest mat racing water slide, and it is called Riptide Raceway, like you said. It's got 4 awesome tubes. They have just completed all of the infrastructure construction. So now it's just kind of landscaping and finishing some of the details. But I've got to tell you, this thing looks beautiful on the hill. It brings a great splash of color to Oceans of Fun, and it is going to be a great attraction. I mean, a lot of people get maybe a little intimidated when, they hear, world record breaking or anything like that. But it's really a family attraction, that you can ride, with your friends, your kids, your nephews, your nieces. I mean, it's fun for all ages, as they say. But yeah, it is looking great, and cannot wait to ride it.
Perfect. And the last question I've got for you. I know the park opens when you can sneak away and get your quote unquote first ride of the season. What are you going to ride first?
Well, I've got to be honest with you. I think I'm going to hit up Prowler. Only because they have put in a lot of track work on the ride, and it's going to be a lot smoother. I'm just kind of curious. Great Coasters International, they do such a good job of maintaining rides and coming in and adding their little special touches to it. And I'm excited and curious to see the impact they've made on Prowler this year to help keep it smooth and running like a machine. It's going to be fun.
Love it. All right, Chris. Well, I really appreciate it. Everybody listening, Worlds of Fun opens today to pass holders on June 22nd. And Chris, when does the park open to the general public?
We have not yet announced that. We imagine that daily ticket sales will probably go on sale in the pretty near future. We're definitely looking at early July to start welcoming daily guests.
Perfect.
And I will say, to all the coaster enthusiasts and the theme park fans out there, we really appreciate your support during this time. It's been challenging for all businesses of all shapes and sizes, but we need your support now more than ever. We've definitely appreciated your support, and go visit a park.
All right, Chris, we really appreciate your time, and we're really looking forward to Worlds of Fun reopening this year. They open today, June 22nd, to pass holders. That's it for this week's episode. I want to thank Eric and Shane for joining me. If you've got any questions, comments, concerns, hate mail, fan mail, feel free to email us at podcast@coaster101.com. We're on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We're doing TikTok dances now at Coaster101, and as always, the website is www.coaster101.com. Quick shout out to Justin Mabry of JM Music Designs for providing our theme song and outro music. And that's it, everybody. We will talk to you next week.